we've talked about the sabbatical and Jubilee years, and we've shown you just a tidbit of Daniel 9. We're going to come back to that in a minute. I'm going to show you the curses now, because that's also something else you need to see. And I'm trying to get you to understand where we are today. So we're going to go quickly through here. What happens if you don't keep the sabbatical years? What happens if you don't keep the Sabbath?
There's a curse.
There's a curse. If you don't keep the holy days, there's a curse. But we call it the new normal. And we get used to it. Right? And then you get numb to it and you don't know it. What's the scripture says, or is it a Talmudic saying that says the person getting spanked or beat all the time gets used to being many blows? I forget where I got that from. But that's us. We are not obeying. We're being punished. We don't get it. And until you can see what the punishment is, you won't understand. So what happens? Oh, Siri's answering. Siri's. I got these Siri's listening. So Leviticus 26, 1-3. Tell us about the blessings that Jehovah is going to give to us. So I want you all, after you hear me today, go and read Leviticus 1-13. And tell me how many of those blessings you're getting. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to this is the newest teaching I'm working on. We got the Loire River dried up in France. We got the Po River in Italy dried up. We've got the Danube River dried up in Germany and those European countries. We got the Rhine River drying up. Okay? Those are all European nations. We got the Tigris River drying up. We got the Euphrates River drying up. And we got the Nile River drying up. Those are all Muslim nations. We got the Catholics and the Muslims. We got the Yangtze River drying up. We got 2 or 3 lakes in China drying up that I can't say the names of. Okay, so that's Buddhism, Communism, and Confucianism. Oh, I forgot Lake Ermaya. Lake Ermaya in Iran, it's drying up. It's almost just a salt plain now. We got the, yeah, you guys are all Americans here. You guys got the Mississippi drying up? I was just at the Hoover Dam. You got the Colorado River drying up. You got the Hoover Dam almost out of enough water to make electricity. You got the Platte River drying up. You got the Rio Grande River drying up. Right? We just had rain here the last 2 days. Everyone's happy. The waters haven't come up. That's a Protestant evangelical nation. What's going on? Leviticus 26, 1-13. I will bless you so that your reapers overtake your harvesters. Your harvesters will overtake the planters, and the planters. There's so much bounty going to happen if you obey. But you don't. And we don't. I don't care if you're Catholic, Hebrew roots, or Messianic. You're all messed up so bad you don't obey. That's why people don't like me, because I tell them they're screwing up. The evidence is all around you. Look at the rivers. They're all drying up. If you can't see that, go bang your head against the wall a couple times till you knock some sense into you. Oh, I forgot the one. The Amazon River is drying up. The Amazon River has got indigenous religions on either side of it. So now we've got every religion around the world covered. They're all drying up. Who's being blessed by Jehovah?
Israel. Sort of.
The Jordan River was drying up until last year, I think. So I wouldn't even say Israel.
Nobody right now.
None. None. He has reached down from heaven and called you. Out of 8 billion people, he called you. I always say, I would never pick you to be on my baseball team. But Jehovah did. And you have a responsibility to learn his Torah and to teach it to those people that you can teach it to. You're not called to go hide in your closet and be safe in your own home. You got to go out there and be a light. Put yourself up. I didn't want to do this. I never wanted to do this. But nobody else is. So we start teaching. I've always taught about the Leviticus curses, starting verse 14. They're easy to see. They're plain as the nose in your face. The first curse. If you will not listen to me and will not do all these commandments, and if you shall despise my statutes, or if your soul hates my judgments, so that you will not do all my commandments, so that you break my covenant, I will also do this to you. I will even appoint terror over you, consumption and burning fever, consuming in the eyes, and causing sorrow of heart. And you shall sow your seed in vain, and your enemies shall eat it. And I will set my face against you, and you shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and you shall flee when none pursues you. This is the sort of like the overall curse. Everything is wrapped up in this one. But I singled out the terror one because it seemed to jump out at me. And the first curse starts with the first sabbatical cycle. Now you can go back throughout history, and these curses, I can trace them all the way back to King David as certain things happening at certain times. King David had a choice as to the fourth curse: sword, plague, or famine. And David chose the plague. That only happened, and because of the timeline, the chronology, I know that that took place in the fourth sabbatical cycle. So in the first sabbatical cycle is terror. What do we have in the first sabbatical cycle? That's from 1996 to 2002. Well, this guy comes along, pops up in the world scene. Osama bin Laden declares war in the United States in 1996. Whoop-de-doo. Another mad Arab. Who cares? August 7th, 1998. U.S. embassies in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and in Nairobi, Kenya were blown up. Suddenly this guy has got some teeth. Now he's moved on to the most wanted list. October 2000, the USS Cole was attacked by people on a little boat. And they blew a hole in the side of it like you'd never seen before. He's attacking U.S. warships. He doesn't care. Wow. Things are changing. Oh, 9/11 comes along. We all remember 9/11. I remember what I was doing that day. I remember who I was doing it with. I remember the conversation we had that day, and I can't remember where I was this morning. This day is etched in all of our brains. This is the day the world changed. Why? Because we all know something happened. And suddenly, the Hebrew Roots movement, with their wisdom and knowledge, explodes in conspiracy teachings. It's an inside job. People blew it up. Bush started it. They all miss what's going on. They all miss what's going on. Jehovah is doing something. He's doing a major thing, and nobody sees it. They got their backs turned to the enemy. They don't know. This day, you should understand, and you should never forget. Jehovah is doing, no, Jehovah, he's a good God. He doesn't do bad things. Nobody wants to believe this. My God is a good God. My God, he puts up with all my crap, and I can do anything I want, and he'll forgive me tomorrow. No, he doesn't. You're going to pay a penalty for your sins, and we are paying that penalty as a nation. Who is one of the tribes of Israel? The United States and Ephraim. We went through that in the first bit. The world changed on September 11, 2001. That's when I started going back to church. I left the Worldwide Church of God in 1994 because they looked too much like the Catholic Church, and I left to join them. And then I started going 9/11, that very next Sabbath, because 9/11 happened on Tuesday. I went to Sabbath again with the United Church of God. And I stuck with them for 7 years. Until they asked me to leave because I wanted to talk about and teach about Jubilee cycles. These are good people here. They're just good people going to work. Pay attention to the people here. Right? What are they doing? What are they doing? Right? From what? These people, they just went shopping. They go to church every Sunday. They give a tithe to the Second Baptist on the corner. They're good people. Jonathan Cahn talks about Isaiah 9. Jonathan Cahn gave a real good teaching on this. I'll let you go read Jonathan Cahn. I've got it here. We're going to skip through it, but read Jonathan 9, Isaiah 9, and starting verse 8. Read that prophecy. Because all our political leaders started to quote it. We're going to rebuild. We're going to rebuild. We're going to do this. But none of them are going to repent. Not one repented after 9/11. The churches got filled up, but they were all full of piss and vinegar. They're going to fight. They're going to fight. We're going to fight whoever did this. But nobody's repenting. Not one person repented. So guess what happens when you don't repent?
Curses get worse.
We get more curses. We get more curses.
Joe Biden.
No, this ain't about your president. It ain't about any physical leader in this world. So the USA would fight the war on terror for how many years? It started on September 11th. It ended August 30, 2021, President Biden. That was the most shameful disgrace. You know, I'm Canadian and I was embarrassed. We have nothing to talk about in Canada, but you know, we love the Americans, but I was embarrassed. Are you aware that September 11, 2001 was Shimini Atzeret? Are you aware that August 30, 2021 was Shimini Atzeret again? See, I don't know what that means, but I'm recording it so that somebody smarter than me will figure out, wow, what does Shimini Atzeret mean? What does that do? What's that connected to? What's the meaning of that holy day? How does it connect? I don't know yet. But these two dates, these two events, are bookmarks on this period of time. So terror. What's the other Hebrew nation? England. 2005, bombing started happening there in their subways. 2006 in Israel, Hezbollah began to fire rockets into Israel. We've been seeing a lot of that. And things start to happen. What does that mean? I don't know. But guess what this guy does? He comes out and makes a speech. He asks, when in any Arab-Israeli conflict, this is Hezbollah head Hassan Nasrallah, when in any Israeli conflict were 2 million Israelis forced to flee or enter bomb shelters. I've been to Israel 19 times now. I've been in those bomb shelters. I've heard the siren go off. But it was a test siren. I never ever experienced a rocket attack. But I've been in those bus shelters. Those bus shelters are in children's playgrounds. In Cedar Road. Every, 50 feet there's a bomb shelter. Count to 10. Just do it. That's how much time you got in Cedar Road to get into a bomb shelter. Just do it. If Canada was to send rockets into Michigan or New York from Ontario, that's it. We just send 10. What would happen? There wouldn't be any more Ontario. We'd be New York, northern New York. Right? How come they can get away with it here? Leviticus 26 verse 17, and I will set my face against you, and you shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, and you shall flee when no one pursues you. Didn't Jehovah just say that? Okay. So let's continue with this terrorism, curse or terror. And suddenly we got this war developing in 2005. Some guy in Iran or Iraq is wanting to take over and become a caliphate. ISIS is born. Stuff's going on. What is happening? You guys can read the things. I don't need to read them all. I just circle some of the highlights. We remember this on the news. We've seen it. The Yazidi women being raped. It wasn't us. We don't care. But you're being shown something. This is coming to you. This is coming to all of us. When will you care? When it's your daughter, your sister, you're you. Yeah. It's coming. So what's going on? What does this mean? How does that affect anything? How do we relate to this? We got in this mix, we got the Syrian civil war. How does that equate to prophecy? What's going on? All these people are migrating to Europe, 1 million of them, right? What's going on? Most of them, when I looked at the pictures during this time, there were women, a lot of young men. What's going on? The 10 toes. The 10 toes of the image of Daniel. The toes made of iron and clay. Iron and clay. The Hebrew word for mix is arab. These people don't mix with the others. They're the iron. Okay, that's Germany. The mix that doesn't mix in, well, you decide who they are. I have my opinion. But I believe the 10 toes are all ready to take shape. So let's move on to the second curse. Leviticus 26 verse 18. And if you will not yet listen to me for all this, then I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will break the pride of your power, and I will make your heaven like iron, and your earth like bronze. I wonder what that means. And your strength shall be spent in vain, for your land shall not yield its increase, neither shall the trees of the field yield their fruits. This is the second sabbatical cycle. It's in the 120th Jubilee cycle. Something's going on. Now these pictures are from the first time I presented this presentation, way back in 2008. They've been updated a little bit, but I'm just showing you there's a pattern developing here that has not changed. And you know what's going on this year. I just listed to you all these different rivers all around the world that are drying up. I will make your sky like iron and your field like brass, or whatever, the other way around. Right? Yeah. I was going to try and update this one and get a more up-to-date one, and I'll leave it there. Here's the Australian drought. The worst drought in 1,000 years. Remember that? 2006. This is when I was talking on the Jono station in Australia. Those were great interviews. He's deleted them all because he's changed his faith a little bit. Again, this could be Texas, right? I drove through a lot of cow pond, or not drove through, drove by them. They still had a little bit of water in them, but you guys are getting pretty low here. So we got the rain this weekend. Is this you? Is this you next year? This is me. This is my picture. That's the Hoover Dam along the Colorado River on the left-hand side. That's when it was full. The last time it was full was 1983. 1983, guess what that means? We're at the end of a 40-year period of testing. Because the picture on the right is the one I took there last week. There's only, it dropped 70 feet of water, according to the security guard there, 70 feet of water this year alone. This year alone. Now you can, I'm not going to show all the bathtub rings, you guys can do that. 40 years of testing. What's happened? What's that mean? Nobody's repenting. This drought here and around the world will continue, but it's going to be getting a lot worse and a whole lot quicker. And Amos talks about sending, going to other cities to get water. You're already doing that. Again, nobody's paying attention. Nobody's listening. Where's the Hebrew roots voice screaming, repent, repent, repent? No, you're all bickering and fighting amongst yourselves about what? I'm not even going to get into it. But you're not doing your job. Teaching Torah to the nations, to the people who are suffering. The sign of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. If you do not change, these disasters are going to get much, much worse. And I've been showing you stuff since 2005, and they're getting much worse. I cannot keep up to them all. This is Joplin, Missouri, right after that tornado went through that town. Why are you going to wait till the trouble hits you before you react? Right? These people started going to church the next day. They're not going to church now, but they did the next day. When disaster hits you, what are you going to do? This is the Philippines, Typhoon Haiyan. What are you going to do? Why are you going to wait till Jehovah has to spank you before you repent? Okay, so this presentation for the Philippines, that's one dead Filipino. This could be your father, your brother, could be your mother, your sister. You could be digging your kin out of the mud who have died because of the disasters that are coming upon this land, this world, because we will not obey. How much power has Jehovah got to put a ship that size way up on the shore? This could be your daughter. It could be your granddaughter. The sign of insanity is to just keep on doing the same thing. It's going to get better tomorrow. Right? So, for time-wise, I'm not... Randy's got this site that shows you every event that's going on in the world. We just looked at the ones, most recent one. I was thinking of adding them in here. I'm not going to add them in. This is a 20-minute video. Go and watch it. Go and watch it. These events took place August 27th to September 2nd. So when I was teaching this in the Philippines, this stuff was current news. It's stunning, the amount of disasters in the world at that time. Here's another one. The week after. So I'm teaching again. The week after, I updated it. This is the disasters hitting then. Where the floods come from? Drought. What? Yeah, it's a result of drought. The ground gets so hard it can't absorb the water. The water has to run off, and it's just a mess. Third curse. Leviticus 26:21. And if you walk contrary to me and will not listen to me, I will bring 7 times more plagues on you according to your sins. I will also send wild beasts among you who shall bereave you, and I will destroy your cattle and make you few in number, and your highways shall be deserted. And I had an awful time trying to figure out what is this talking about. I'm thinking shark attacks, dog attacks, bear attacks, mountain lion attacks. I didn't know what it was. But I remember here in Matthew 26, he says, you know, wars, what else does he say? Pestilence and famines, they always seem to go together. Pestilence, famine, and earthquakes. Well, this was talking about pestilence, I think, maybe. I'm not sure. So I started to look at some other stuff. It's talking about this third sabbatical cycle. That's why I colored it green. I got the red there for 2014, 2015 because of the blood moons. That's just an indicator for me. 2016 was also a blood moon or a dark moon period of time. We had not a what do they call that?
A tetrad?
Tetrad. We had it 6 times, whatever that is. 6 times. That means wake up and pay attention. The blood moons are a warning of something that's coming. But you know, when you use the Hillel calendar, they're only a warning of something that's already happened.
Yeah.
They don't make sense. But on the crescent moon barley calendar, all these blood moons make sense because they are preceding in advance of something. They're a warning. Blood moons are a warning in Jewish mythology of war or death. And we can trace them, I've traced them all the way back to just before the death of Abraham. Adam. I'm trying to call one of my kids. I can name them all, right? Before the death of Adam, there were blood moons. Before the flood, there were blood moons. Before the destruction of Israel, there were blood moons. Before the temple fell, there were blood moons. When Yeshua was killed, there was a blood moon. We've just had blood moons. We're being warned of wars that's coming. So in 2009, okay, so here's the calendar. Look at 2009. That's the end of the second Jubilee cycle, or second sabbatical cycle. 2010, things are going to start. 2009, we had the swine flu pandemic. So these are the pictures I had back in, you know, when I was doing this. This is long before COVID. Then we had the bird flu. right? That's long before COVID. We had H1N1. So I started doing a little experiment. I started looking back in history. If God's consistent, He's the same yesterday, today, and forever, then these curses should be traced back in history. So I started to see that in 1918 there was the flu epidemic, and 40 million people were killed around the world. Don't talk to a Hebrew roots guy about that, because that's a conspiracy. 40 million didn't really die. It was something else. Stop. Let's just look at the facts. Let's obey God, and let's find out what's going on. My grandpa's brother died in this. He was killed by that plague. So I start to do an experiment, and I start to notice that there are epidemics during each of these periods of time that are listed here. And I start to mark them on the chart, and I keep going back in history, and I start to see more. The one in white did not happen during our time period. And I'm going to show you the time period in a moment, because the ones in yellow all did. So we take it back to 1428. That's 6 Jubilee cycles. So in 1960 we had the El Tor, and it's the 3rd and 4th sabbatical cycle, and it ends in the first year of the 5th sabbatical cycle. In 2014 we have the Spanish flu, right? And we had different cholera too, starting in 1899 all the way up to 1923. So I'm covering all the time periods and not leaving it out because it doesn't fit, putting it in to see what it looks like. That's what it looks like. Here's the cholera epidemic in 1863 to 1875, and another one 1816 to 1851. 3rd sabbatical cycle, 4th sabbatical cycle. Influenza, 1775 to 76, your American Revolution. 1732 to 1733, another influenza outbreak. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Jubilee cycles in a row when this curse took place. So I started to look for earthquakes after that. We got the Japanese tsunami in 2011. We all remember that, and we're awestruck by the power of this thing. Again, Jehovah lifting a ship and throwing it up on the shore. So I looked at the earthquakes, and I found this from the USGS, World Deadly and Destructive Earthquakes, between magnitude 6 and 8. United States Earthquake Group. They don't have this there anymore, but it was there. And you see from 1900 up until that year is about 1996. And then they take off. Here's M6 or above, again, 1996, they start to go higher. Most destructive quakes, M6 to M8, 2011, it only goes up to 2011 because that's the latest time I had it then, again after 1996. So when I was in the Philippines, this earthquake happened in Taiwan, so I put that in there. 2 of them in the same couple days. Starting in 2000 and going up to 2021. They're all about 1,600 earthquakes a year. We're not going up anymore, but we're seem to be plateaued. So then I look at the next thing and I start seeing worldwide natural disasters. And again, there's an increase going on. What does this mean? I'm not going to interpret it, it's there. It's after 1996, right? 1996 was the Jubilee year. The 120th Jubilee cycle is now the one we're in. So we just had COP27. I'm talking about COP26. They blame this all on climate change. Global warming. They're seeding the clouds. These airplanes are... Okay, it's not climate change. It's not global warming. It's Jehovah laying out his curses on mankind for not obeying. And he's doing it all according to the Jubilee cycle pattern. So if you don't have rain, you don't have grass, you don't have feed for your cattle. And these guys are going to be slaughtered. And they get killed every time there's a big drought. You see why your hamburger's going up in the store? We have a drought going on right now. They can't feed their animals. In Revelation, I believe it's chapter 9, it tells you that men are going to curse God because he's scorching them with heat, but they do not repent. Which tells me that the United Nations trying to keep things at 1.5 degrees Celsius is not going to work. Because already in 2022 we're at 2. We're 2 and above. And according to this, Revelation 9, I believe we'll hit 3 and 4 very soon. This lake is from here in Texas in 2012, or when I came. Every curse in Exodus, the 10 plagues, are going to be executed on the 12 tribes of Israel in the last days because they did not obey God. I will send them on you. So these two men in Revelation 11:6 have authority to shut up the heaven that it may not rain in the days of their prophecy. I'm going to show you that these two guys are about to show up on the world scene in 2026. That's 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking to you today is November 27, 2022. It's almost at the year 2023 is about to begin. In 3 years' time, the two witnesses will be here. There's not going to be any rain anywhere on the earth. What's going to happen then? Okay? So, here's the thing. Look at the chart. We're in the year 2022. We're about to begin 2023. We know for a certainty, and you can prove this. I'm showing you. You don't have to believe me. You get to prove it. 2045, which is after 2044, is the next Jubilee year. It's 120. That's the beginning of the 7th millennium. Whether you believe anything I'm saying is correct or not, fine. Put your own theory, your own theology in here. Make it fit between 2023 and 2044. And unless those days were cut short, no flesh will be saved alive. So you got to even shorten that period of time up. But before 2045, all end time prophecy is going to take place, because none of it's going to take place in the 7th millennium. That's how close we are to of this 6th millennial day. All end time prophecy must happen during this time. There's going to be 3.5 years with no rain for the two witnesses. And I'm telling you, that's about to begin in 2026. I'll prove my case here in a minute. You may not agree with me. Great. Somewhere in here there's going to be no rain. But this is the 4th cycle of curse. Guess what the 5th curse cycle is? I don't read that one because people can't take it.
I'll read it.
I'll read it. I'll just tell you. You guys are Hebrew roots. You're supposed to be teaching this. You should know this. Or Messianics. Or nobody likes to be called that anymore. What do we call ourselves? Torah observant.
Believers in Yeshua, totally.
Okay, so what's the 5th curse? Just continue reading Leviticus 26. It tells you, you shall eat your own flesh and blood. You're going to eat your children. If you do not return and obey me, you are going to eat your children. What's going to happen when there's no rain for 3.5 years? What's happened now with no rain for 1 year? I've listed all those rivers that have dried up. What's happening? Well, went from, David Beasley said we've gone from 80 million to 345 million in 5 years' time. Okay, so we got that many on famine row. We got COVID still going on. COVID, the plague, and famine, and sword. That'll be the 4th curse. 5th curse is cannibalism. That's coming. The price of rice in the Philippines is doubled. And they were barely getting by in the first place. How much has your food bill gone up this year?
A lot.
How much has your gas bill gone up this year? How much has the price of diesel gone up this year?
A lot.
Everything's transported by diesel, by trucks and trains. Now we got the train people going on strike. I don't know, has that been fixed? Are they still going on strike? I don't know.
Not yet, as far as I know.
We had wildfires taking place starting in Australia in 2019. Then the west coast here, big wildfires. We had your sky turn to orange in the middle of the day. The sun disappeared, it was at night. Just another video, you can go watch. And they're not working here anyway. This is Fort McMurray in Canada. This video is showing you a guy going through the flames to get out. He got the windows up, the air conditioner on, and it's hot inside his truck. Imagine trying to flee through that and the guy in front has a wreck. That's what happened in Spain. The first one had a wreck. They went down this street to get away from the flames, and it got narrower and narrower until the first guy crashed, and then each one piled into that one. What do? They get out and try to run. As soon as they open the door, they're dead. They got people there in the car that are dead from the heat of the flames. Revelation 9, I'm going to scorch you with heat. This is a typhoon in the Philippines. Okay, these are all videos I'm presenting when I'm doing this. It's not climate change. It's not global warming. It's Jehovah's curses of Leviticus 26 being poured out, and that's what they look like today in real life. This is not some teaching about Bible prophecy in ancient days where they didn't know what 1 and 1 was. Get real with the Bible. The hottest years on record took place starting in 2000, 2003? The hottest years on record, of those 7 years, 5 of them happened during that time period. Since that time, the hottest years on record have been down to our time today. This one goes up to 2020. 2021 and 2022 were right in the 7 top years. So yeah, I'm talking about different things here. We need water for nuclear energy. We need water for the Hoover Dam. How many people live in the West Coast are going to be out of hydro with their electric cars? Right?
Yeah.
What about your fridges and your freezers with your food in it? Your electricity you need for the gas to go and get food at the store. There's a lot of danger coming. So that was only, up to the 3rd curse. Here's the 4th curse. And if you will not be reformed by me, by these things, but will still walk contrary to me, then I will walk contrary to you, and I will punish you 7 times more for your sins. And I will bring a sword on you that shall execute the vengeance of the covenant. And when you have gathered in your cities, I will send the plague among you, and you shall be delivered into the hand of the enemy. And when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven. And they shall deliver your bread, again by weight, and you shall eat and not be satisfied. You have sword, plague, and famine. And since 2005, since I've been teaching this, I've been teaching you that in this sabbatical cycle, the 4th sabbatical cycle here in black, that the sword is coming first, because it's listed first. Okay, so we got this big divide in the United States between the Trumpers and the non-Trumpers, the Democrats and the Republicans and the... Is that it? No. That's not. That's a big fight. It could have been civil war. They were talking about it. No, that's not it. I said sword. I got 1 more year to go. I told James, my website guy, my tech guy, that we were taking down siteofmoon.com if nothing happened in 2020. I've been warning you about 2020 since 2005. I'm still here. I'm still warning you. It wasn't the sword, but we got plague and famine. We got plague and famine. I got the order wrong, but we got plague and famine. 345 million people on famine rule right now. 263 million caught COVID. 6.6 million died. I know, messianics don't believe in COVID. It's not real. Okay, I get it.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, I hadn't heard that
Yeah, I know. It's some guy in the back room. But we now got Russia going to war with Ukraine. Who's supplying Ukraine with all the ammunition to keep Russia held back? United States. Guess what's happening? The United States and Europe pushed all their ammunition there. Guess what now? You have no reserves left. Europe has no reserves left. They spent all their backup ammunition on Ukraine. Guess where? Guess where you get your material from to build the smart bombs?
Ukraine.
Russia.
No, China.
Oh,
They control, I think it's 97% of all the rare earth material that you need to build a smart bomb. So now you can only send your stupid bombs to fight your next war. Right? So, who is stupid here? I'm not saying Putin is that smart, but I'm saying Jehovah's doing something. There it is there. Your stock of weaponry to fight a war before you get your ammunition machine working to replenish them is being used up. If you're attacked now, you don't have enough material to carry on a war for very long. So here's what this guy in the Russian government says, that they're at war with the West collectively right now. The USA stamp is on every bomb that's falling on these Russian tanks. At some point, if somebody makes a mistake, we could be, and you got a real smart president right now, we could be at World War III. Okay, that was a joke.
thank you.
Okay? Just in case you thought I was serious. So we also got going on in Europe, we got these hunger stones, which warn us that when you see these stones, expect a famine. This year's crop failed in Europe. The wheat's being held up in Ukraine by the Russians. It's now being shipped out. Now they're arguing over stopping it, and it stops and goes, stops and goes. Is it going to continue? Who knows? So the United Nations is making remarks about this. Climate change, extreme weather events, conflicts, and economic downturns are some of the factors driving growing food insecurity. Some 193 million people experienced food insecurity across 53 countries or territories in 2021. Acute food insecurity is at a record high. So, okay, David Beasley just spoke in September this year. I'll quote him in a minute. So again, I'm going through the rivers that are drying up across Europe and China. Okay, there's stuff going on. It's not climate change. It's not global warming. These are curses that come from Jehovah himself because we're not obeying Leviticus 26. They are not man-made. They are Jehovah sent. COVID-19 shut down the entire world. March 11, 2020. We're going to come back to that in a moment. This is so important. And the Hebrew roots, messianic, messed up people that should know better, should be watching for God, watching for Jehovah, missed it. The fourth curse is here now. So here's David Beasley. I've already talked enough about him. We've gone from 80 million to now 345 million who are in danger or suffering from famine. It's the perfect storm, he says. So I'll skip through him. 2016, 80 million. 2022, 345 million. The Russia war has cut off the fertilizer, which is needed to encourage the plants to grow, because nobody keeps a sabbatical year. So we got to use fertilizer to encourage the plants to grow. Who uses fertilizer? Everybody. It's being cut off. So what are farmers doing, because the cost of fertilizer is getting so expensive? They're not planting it. We're not sowing it in with the crops. What happens when that happens?
Soil depletes. Soil depletes.
Well, the soil is already depleted, but it's a lesser yield of crops. It's going to get worse and worse. On top of the drought, We're in trouble all around the world. Skip. So we got sword, famine, and plague. That sword has not yet taken on the world. The famine is around the world. The plague is around the world. This is just the end of the fourth sabbatical cycle. The fifth one is about to begin. And that's where we are now. We are most definitely in the last days. Now, if you disagree with that, awesome. Go through the chronology and show me that we are in the 69th Jubilee cycle. We have a certain teacher teaching that we are in the year 6022 right now, and that means that we are now in the 7th millennium. We have some Torah teachers teaching that we are in the 7th millennium right now. Where is the Messiah, and why are we still fighting? And didn't Jehovah say, I will teach you, there will be no more teachers at that time, I'll teach you face to face? Okay, I don't think we're in the 7th millennium. And you got to prove all 89 of my sabbatical Jubilee years wrong to create your own theology. So before we can have a second Exodus that anyone talks about, the greater second Exodus, we must have a second great captivity. Because if this is the captivity that we're in now, where Yvette can serve us up a nice big spread and host all these different people, and we can drive from Canada to the United States and only have to go through 2 customs, one at the Michigan border and one at the Texas border, then this is not captivity. Right? Because I shouldn't have any papers to get across any border, and I should not be allowed to go anywhere. Jeremiah 16:14, behold, the days coming, says Jehovah, that it shall no more be said, as Jehovah lives, who brought up the sons of Israel out of the land of Egypt, but as Jehovah lives, who brought up the sons of Israel from the lands of the north and from all the lands where he had driven them, and I will bring them again into their lands that I gave to their fathers. Has that happened yet? Isaiah 11:11. This is the captivity. This is where you're going to come back out of. And it shall be in that day, the Lord shall again set his hand a second time to recover the remnant of his people that remains from Assyria, from Egypt, from Pathros, from Ethiopia, from Persia, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the coast of the sea. So you need to ask yourself, where are these places? Because if that's where we're going to be going into captivity, are you ready for that? So I do ask that. Where's Assyria? Assyria today is Germany. Where's Egypt? Egypt today is still Egypt. Oh, how are Jews treated in Egypt? How are the Jews treated in Germany? Go back 70 years. Where's Pathros? Pathros are the people who live at the end of the Nile. Guess where my other ministry is? In Pathros. I didn't start it there, it just sort of happened there, and it's doing well. That's Burundi. What's he doing? Where's Shinar? Shinar is still Shinar. That's Syria, Iraq. That's where the Euphrates comes into Syria. Where's Ethiopia? It's still there. People are on famine row in Ethiopia right now, right? They're all about this big. Right? They got famine there big time because they got a war going on. Where's Hamath? Hamath is Syria. So you could say Shinar is Iraq and Hamath is Syria. We missed one there. There's another one in there, which is Persia, which is Iran. And the coast of the sea. Where are the islands? So I go on to a teaching here, which I'm not going to do today. I show you that this is the Philippines. Another place where SiteOfMoon.com is flourishing. You know, teaching Torah in North America is like going for a fish in a pond that hasn't been fished and hasn't had a fish in it for 50 years. But teaching Torah in the Philippines is like shooting fish in a barrel. They are so hungry to learn the truth. And North Americans who have got all these blessings are so sick and tired of being taught anything from the Bible.
Yep.
It's such a shame. So when does all this begin? When does this captivity and stuff begin? So just to remind you, where's my last chart? Oh, we're at the end of the fourth sabbatical cycle. We've got something new going on right now. In Israel, they had 5 red heifers brought from Texas, delivered there in September, I believe it was. Wow, we got 5 red heifers. What's that mean? They're going to sacrifice, they're going to purify the temple. We're going to get the temple ready. We're going to get the temple. They're purifying the priests. All these things are, there's some potential here if the cattle remain red. So since the beginning of the Exodus, there's only been 9 red heifers killed throughout all of history. And Rambam says the 10th one will be the one done just before the Messiah comes. I don't know where Rambam got that, but that's really interesting because this is the 10th one now. So they're not old enough to sacrifice until 2023. They'll be in their 2nd year. Now I talked to Monty Judah, he says they have to be over 2 years, between 2 and 3. And then I searched the scriptures and it doesn't tell you how old they have to be. So where is this coming from? Well, a bull that's sacrificed, or it has to be over a 3-year-old bull, I think it is. So again, there's a little bit of confusion of not knowing how old they have to be.
It has to be in the 2nd year.
I believe so, but we have no scripture to back that up. This is a Talmudic tradition. We don't have a scripture that says that. If you got one, I'd like to know it, because then I could correct my teaching. But I also believe, like you, it's going to be the 2nd year. Ask me where I got that from, I don't know. Okay? So here's the red heifer teaching. You guys all know this. I don't need to go through it. But I teach this to the Christians because they've never heard of it. Okay? Now, the ritual requires, and so this is an article from Arut 7. The ritual requires that the priest who sacrificed the heifer be ritually pure as well, lacking the minida from a previous holy cow. So that means he had to have the red ashes from a previous cow to do this, is a catch-22. Okay, well now what do we do? Now I know people are going to disagree with me on that, that's fine. And I apologize, I could not find the right color here to make this work. Isaiah 63, and so I teach in the Philippines about who they are, and I start in Isaiah 63 starting in verse 19. And one guy came up to me my last tour and told me, have you read this scripture? And I said, no, not for a long time. He said, well, maybe you should read it. I started to read it, and this jumped out. He who kills an ox is as if he killed a man. What? He who sacrifices a lamb as if he broke the dog's neck. He who offers an offering is as if he offered swine's blood, and he who burns incense as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. What is this talking about?
Doing your own thing.
Doing your own thing and not according to Torah. This, and I know Rabbi Reichman and the Temple Mount Institute, they are going to do this according to their understanding, to the best of their ability. Awesome. I'm excited about this. But if they do it wrong, this red heifer offering is going to become a red heifer abomination.
How would they do it wrong?
I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. But if they do it wrong, because there's a couple things you got to do. You got to do it in the right place.
Absolutely.
Where's the right place?
Well,
No, it's not the Temple Mount. You just got zapped by Jehovah because you did it in the wrong place.
It's outside the city.
It's outside the city. Outside the city. Where? At the sin offering site. Where's the sin offering site?
I'm sorry, I thought you asked where the temple was supposed to go.
No, the red heifer offering,
Oh, right.
the
No,
sacrifice.
no, not the temple.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay, but you still got zapped. I'm just, you know, I'm a zapper
I
today.
repent, dust and ashes.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to get into the controversy about the temple. Where's the temple? Now, I teach different than a lot of people, and you can disagree, that's fine. But if we do this red heifer offering in the wrong place, there's going to be hell to pay. So, Randy and I were there this year surveying the ground. We're going back this fall because we believe something's about to happen. So there's the Kidron Valley right here. This is the Temple Mount. This is the city of David. And right here is the Gihon Spring. And I believe the Gihon Spring was in the corner of the temple, the southeast corner, according to Josephus. So I put that at the southeast corner, and that would make the temple in this area here. And when the city wall, the oldest city walls, they go up to here. Why would you put your temple outside the city walls? It didn't make any sense. The second city walls went around the temple. Again, people disagree with that. I don't want to get into that fight. This is the Maison d'Abraham. It's on top of the mount, at the toe of the Mount of Olives. There are 3 different mounts. There's the Mount Herschel, no, not Herschel. Is it Herschel? Scopus, Mount Scopus. Then there's the Mount of Olives. That's where all the graves are around it. And then there at the very end, at the southern end, is Mount Golgotha, which is now known as the Mount of Offense. This is a different view. Again, here's the city of David. The Gihon Spring is right in here. There's the all the dead people on the Mount of Olives. And here's the green spaces on the Mount of Olives, right there. And that's what I'm trying to point out. If you believe this is where the temple's going to go, and they believe the temple's going to go right in this area here, there's other things I'm going to show you here that they believe the altar was right here. And if that's the altar and that's where the temple goes there, then straight across would be the sacrificial site. Okay, we're going to look at both. You get to decide. Now, I'm showing you here, we've raised our screen up so we can see all my shot. Now I've got the top cut off. I believe, from my research, that the red heifer site is right here, or right beside it, or in this area here. Now they've excavated that to build these apartment buildings. This is a Jewish site on the Mount of Offense. I forgot the name of it. But we're going to be checking that. Pardon me?
The Mount Moriah?
Well, the whole mountain range was called Mountains of Moriah. So yes. So there's the Dome of the Rock. In the red section there, that is where they believe, the Temple Mount Institute believes the altar was. And they have their calculation as to why that is. And here it is again in front of the Dome of Chains. It's right down there in the corner. And again, we got that cut off, and I apologize. Isaiah 66:19, and I will set the sign among them. And okay, we don't need that. That's for the people in the Philippines. But they're going to be brought back from these lands. So the key to understanding all end-time prophecy, now that you have seen the curses for Leviticus 26, and those curses follow Leviticus 25. Leviticus 25 is the Sabbath and Jubilee cycles. And to understand all end-time prophecy, you need to understand the Sabbath and Jubilee cycles. I've raced through them today to get to the point of my coming this way this year.